class today. Let's sing the good thinking song, shall we? Come along, everyone.
Please put on your thinking caps, for think you really must. If you are to take your place in the Argonauts Brains Trust.
We have the questions. They're difficult. Oh, dear, no.
You have the answers we shall hear. So please put on your thinking caps, for think you really must. If you're to take your place in the Argonauts Brains Trust.
Madam President takes the chair. Thank you, Elizabeth. Joe, you look as though you have some very interesting opinions there. Would you open the discussion on if your house were burning, what would you say first?
Oh, these letters I was just looking through, Nan, for our second debate. I'm more interested in it today.
Oh, well, Madam President, I'm very interested in both debates, and I crave your attention on behalf of a 16-year-old Dragon's Tooth 38.
You may proceed, 38.
If my house were burning, I don't think I'd have time to think, let alone save anything. I'm sure I'd just stand there with my mouth open, staring with unbelieving eyes at the smoke and flame. Still, if I did happen to think and stir myself into action, my first thought would be for my books. Books which were given to me, books which I longed for and saved for, until at last I had the required amount. Yes, my books would be my first thought, after seeing that Mum and Dad were safe, of course.
Well, there's no doubt about it, 38. Books are our great friends, but books can be replaced. Now, a client of mine, 12 years old, Croton 41, puts my ideas about this fire business into words.
Croton 41 has the floor, Joe.
Thank you, Madam President, sir. Now, this is what Croton 41 I think. If our house caught fire, I would try to save every living thing first. Mum said, when she heard the question, that she'd grab the baby in one arm and her purse in the other.
Well, so far as one of our younger debaters, 8 years old, Kronos 9, is concerned, Mother would be doing the most sensible thing possible, Kronos 41. We'd be glad to hear why you think so, Kronos 9. If my house were on fire, I would save the money first because we would need it to buy new clothing and food. If I had time, though, I would try to save my books, for I have a lot of them and am very fond of reading. Oh, thank you, Kronos 9.
And now, Madam President, may I present 11 years old Asclepius 19, who, incidentally, is a girl after my own heart.
Go ahead, Asclepius 19.
If our house caught fire, I would try to save our dog first. You might think I should try to save my mother and father or sister and brother, but they would be busy looking after themselves. If I left Sandy, our dog, he would be very frightened and probably wouldn't know what to do and possibly would be burnt. The other things in the house might be valuable, but they would not feel as a dog and wouldn't know how horrible it felt to be burnt.
Here, here, Asclepius 19. Living friends first.
Well, it's certainly very interesting to get different people's reactions to this problem. And now, I'm forgetting the chair to present 17 years old Ancona 30, who's done a little research amongst her friends. Oh, jolly good, man. Well, we're anxious to hear you, Ancona 30. Well, perhaps you'll help me read Ancona 30's opinion, Elizabeth. It's quite a long one. Of course I will. Will you start it off, Nan, and I'll carry on when you want me to. Thanks, Elizabeth. Here's Ancona 30 now. I've often pondered over this question and have asked several people what they would do. The answers were many and varied. One said that they'd carry out their mattress and bedding. Another, a thrifty housewife, said that she would grab all the linen and coupon goods that she could. Miss Engaged thought she would save her hope chest first. Think of all the hours embroidering and dreaming that would be wasted if she did. A very practical man suggested bank books, ration cards, insurance receipts, and tea, etc. Another would make sure all domestic pets were put in the safety zone.
In the early evening, the family serials, Martin's Corner and When a Girl Marries, covered many of the issues now dealt with by television soap operas like Neighbours. For relief from the worries of the soapies, people turned to the comic and sentimental adventures of Dad and Dave.
We now present the first episode of Dad and Dave, a human story of two typical Australians, their families, their lives, their hopes, their doubts, their fears and their triumphs. The characters of Dad and Dave represent all that is sturdy, honest and resourceful in the great Australian outback. You'll laugh with them, you will sympathize with them, and perhaps their troubles may in some way remind you of your own, and perhaps their courage will inspire you. Now let us visit the homestead in Snake Gully, just off the road to Gundagai, It is a typical Australian homestead. There's a veranda running almost right round the house. In front of the house are a few trees and a small, well-kept garden. Now let us enter the homestead. It is night time, and in the living room we make the acquaintance of Dad and Dave. Dad is sitting at the table, laboriously writing, while Dave has just finished reading the daily paper.
What are you doing, Dan?
I'm very busy. 2 and 5 is, why don't you do something useful instead of sitting with your nose in the paper all night?
Oh, I finished the paper now.
4, so don't talk, I'm busy. 2 and 6.
What are you doing?
I'm working out something. 4, 9, 5, 7.